Good afternoon. My name is Celeste Kamasa, and I am a senior at Cleveland Early College High School at John Hay and High Tech Academy, and a member of the City Club Youth Forum Council. I am pleased to welcome you to this afternoon's Youth Forum about teen dating violence and relationship abuse, featuring two guest speakers, Yolanda Armstrong of OhioGuidestone and Megan Gergen of the Domestic Violence and Child Advocacy Center. Yolanda Armstrong is Director of Community Relations and Organizational Diversity for Guidestone, transformed from Berea's Children's Home and Family Services, where she is responsible for enhancing the organization's relationships in the community and working closely to carry out the strategic plans in the areas of human resources, advancement, diversity, and program development. A native Clevelander, she graduated from John Adams High School, earned her bachelor's degree from Ohio University in Health Services Administration, and a master's degree from Case Western Reserve University in Social Work Administration. Ms. Armstrong has spent well over 20 years working in the areas of mental health, domestic violence, alcohol and drug abuse, juvenile justice, and nonprofit management, and in 2007 received the Phenomenal African American Award and was recognized as a community leader in the Who's Who of Black Cleveland 2010, 2011, and 2012. We are pleased to have Ms. Armstrong with us today to discuss teen dating violence and relationship abuse. Please welcome her to the City Club this afternoon.
Today I just turned 16. You'd think I would be very excited about that. But I have to tell you, 6 months ago I was very happy. I had a lot of friends. I did a lot of activities at school. I was very much involved. My parents were very supportive. What more could I ask for? I had a 3.5 GPA. And then I met this guy. He's very involved in the school, very popular. All the girls wanted to date him, and he chose me. He chose me, and I was very happy about that. The first week, he told me I was beautiful, I was smart, I was everything he ever wanted. The second week, he told me to stop hanging out with my friends. He said that many of my girlfriends, they were just jealous of our relationship. He told me that I couldn't text my friends anymore. He started looking at my cell phone, looking at my texts, and then conveniently would throw my phone away. That on many occasions I had to go to my mom and say, "Mom, I need a new phone. I need a new phone." And she would ask me, "What happened? This is the second phone you've lost." And I said, "Oh, I think somebody stole it at school." I had a good relationship with my mother. I would never lie to her. But I couldn't tell her that I was living through so much with this young man. I really liked him. And just knowing the fact that he really loved me, that meant a lot to me. But then he started hitting me. He started telling me that I was worthless, that he was going to date other girls, and he didn't care what I say. And what I do, I decided that I would do anything for him, just so he would keep me. My grades started slipping. My girlfriends started questioning me because they noticed I had scratches on my face. I told them my cat did it. They also noticed I was limping one time because one time he was so upset with me, he said I made him hit me. And I think I did. It might be my fault. Time has gone on, and now I've turned 16 today, and I'm so scared to tell somebody what's going on with me. I'm hoping my friends would just look at me and know the signs that I'm hurting and that I need help. But I also love him, and I'm afraid to get out of this relationship. Good afternoon. As she said, my name is Yolanda Armstrong, and I have been in this field for over 20 years. And no matter what walk of life I've worked in, whether it's mental health, juvenile justice, there's always someone that has been affected by domestic violence, teen violence, being belittled by someone that they care about. I have seen this situation so much that it caused me to want to do more for not just our young men, but also our young girls. Being a mentor in the community is so important to be able to help young people to recognize and understand that you are worth something, that you are valued, and that no one has the right to degrade you at all. I know many of us long to have a relationship, want to be involved with someone because that's the popular thing to do. But you really have to get to know that individual. You can't just jump right into a relationship. And I used to tell that to my students all the time. They'd say, oh, Miss Armstrong, you don't know what you're talking about. He really loves me. He really cares about me. And I'd say to them, well, who's his family? Where is he from? Do you know anything about him? How involved is he in school? What is his grades like? It is, for some people, it's easy to see the signs, and then for others, it's not. I'm here to say to you that being an advocate for your friend, for someone that you love, teen dating violence affects all of us in this room. And if I ask people to raise their hand, I'm sure many of you will raise your hand because you either know somebody that's been in a relationship like that, you may secretly be in a relationship like that and don't want anyone to know, or you're really trying to get the knowledge to understand so that you can be an advocate for others. I was very impressed recently when I was watching Ramona Robinson. She did a segment on Ramona's kids, and they featured the Lakewood school system. Lakewood school system was really surprised to see the statistics in Ohio of teen dating violence. And they decided to take a poll in their school to find out if the students were very much aware of violence, been involved. And they were surprised at the statistics at so many youth who either have been involved in some type of relationship where they have been verbally abused, physically abused, and sexually abused by their dating partner. Because of that fact, they had an opportunity to come together with various organizations in the state of Ohio and apply for funding. And they actually have an advocacy program at that school where they're working to educate our young people about teen dating violence. I know for some of you, you're probably thinking, well, it's never going to happen to me. I'll never be in that situation. I won't let someone get me in that manner to make me feel like, I could trust them enough to be able to say that I'm not going to listen to what my parents have to say or listen to what my girlfriends have to say. And I always tell my young people, you never know until it happens to you. You never know what you're going to do. I'm here today to talk to you about advocacy, how we need to speak up and speak out when situations like that occur to our family, to our friends, to our cousins, and to our classmates. And I know that's probably easier said than done because many of us are afraid. Many of us may not feel like it's our place to get involved. Unfortunately, and I'm sure you've seen it on the news, we've had so many young people who've been affected by teen dating violence that it has resulted in death. And our agency, as well as other agencies, have had I don't even want to call it the privilege, because that is a terrible time when you have to go counsel others about what has happened to a classmate who's sitting right next to you or used to sit right next to you, who you used to talk to, and now they've lost their life because of another classmate taking their life because they were in a relationship that was unhealthy. To me, prevention is very important. I've dealt with a lot of older people as it relates to domestic violence for many years in this field. And to know that it has touched our young people really saddens me because, again, knowing that being a young person, knowing that you have enough to deal with when it comes to grades, trying to get those grades so that you can get into college, trying to be liked by other people in the school system, to be liked by your friends, wanting to be a part of, for some people, this clique or that clique. The excitement of being a teenager is what you should be experiencing, and instead, you're dealing with issues that affect you, that can affect so many people that are around you. to me, speaking up and speaking out will help our young people to understand and become more aware of teen dating violence. When I think about the young lady who I know who had experienced this a couple of years ago, she never thought that that would happen to her. She just knew that this young man loved her so much. And what she shared was that it started out that he was so nice and did so many things for her and made her feel so wonderful because she wasn't getting that at home. Then to becoming his possession. And at first she kind of thought it was cute. She liked that because she was with somebody. And then when he moved on and began to escalate in the relationship, moving from being verbally abusive to becoming physically abusive. And many of you probably don't even realize that just a young man or a young woman, because I want you to know that teen dating violence does affect our young men as well as our young ladies. Probably more so of our young ladies, only because I don't think too many young men want to tell people that this is happening to them in a relationship. They rather just play it off and not discuss it with anyone, in hopes really that somebody will discover it and help them out of this process, help them out of this situation to keep them from going overboard. When I think about what young people endure and all the things that you try to accomplish being young, many of us never think that if we are in a situation like this as a teen, that this can transcend even as an adult. You find yourself looking for the wrong guy in the wrong place because you're thinking that because that guy treated you that way, that young man treated you that way, that's love and that's how it's supposed to be. And therefore you find yourself attracting men that way and not getting out of that cycle. And that cycle continues and continues until you wake up and realize, I have to get out of this. I have to do something better. I know this is not the right way, and I know this is not a healthy relationship. So I'm pleased to have been asked to come here today because that's one of those subjects that really touches my heart because I know a lot of young people today are being affected by it. I believe the statistics said that 1 in 3 teens are affected by teen dating violence. What I'd like to see happen, especially since I've worked with people who are older who've been involved in domestic violence, is to see that it stopped right here. And in order to do that, I think it's forums like this that brings us together, and to have so many young people in this room, it allows us the opportunity to help make you aware of teen dating violence, to help you to understand how it can happen, to help you to see that because someone is treating you a certain way, that it is unhealthy, especially if they're hitting you, calling you names, but then at the same breath telling you they love you, they don't want you to leave them. I remember one young lady sharing with me that this young man said, I'm gonna kill myself if you leave me, because she was finally done with the relationship and couldn't take it anymore, especially when she broke her leg. She blamed herself, but it was by the hands of the young man that she cared so much about. She didn't want to tell her parents because she knew her father, and he had a bad temper. She knew her father would do something terrible, and so she didn't want to tell him. I do know she did seek out help because when she came to our agency, as well as talking to other people in her school, when she finally had the voice to be able to do that, she realized that there were services to help her. And I think that's the other thing. I think a lot of young people may not reach out for help because they don't think that there's a place to go to get help. One of the things I'm very impressed with today is that the technology, although I know I'm not on Facebook, I used to be, I'm not a Facebook person, but when I think about Twitter and all the other social media type things, there are so many ways for you to be able to reach out and try to talk to someone. And what I'm very impressed with is that organizations who work with students who are affected by domestic violence or maybe know someone, they actually have a number that you can call. They actually have a site that you can go to, and to be able to talk about what you've experienced or what you think your friend is experiencing and can give you some sense of direction. So I'm very honored to be here today because, again, this gives me an opportunity to not only to meet so many young, intelligent young people here in this room, but to also let you know that it can happen to you. The good thing is today, if it hasn't, you're going to learn not just from myself, but from the other speaker, that you'll know the signs. You'll see it coming and you will go the other direction. You'll understand what a healthy relationship is, not rushing into a relationship with a teen partner just because everybody else is doing it. But asking the right questions, taking your time, being slow about the process of dating. You don't have to be in a rush. There's so much going on right now. Right here in the city of Cleveland, there's so many things that you could be doing that I know some of you may not like this, but you don't really have to date. I know a lot of young people get together as a group and go out and do things together, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you do find yourself in a situation where you do want to date, think about the description that I just gave you of that young lady and the experience that she shared and that she had to endure at the age of 16. I don't want to take too much of your time because I can go on forever, and I do want to give the other young lady an opportunity to speak. But I just want you to know that there are services out there that you can go to, even if you're not a victim and know someone who may be a victim. You can still pick up the phone and call and find out what can you do to help that person. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. With us today, we also have Megan Gergen, who is the teen advocate and the teen and young adult advocacy program at the Domestic Violence and Child Advocacy Center. Ms. Gergen is a graduate of Carroll College in Helena, Montana, where she received a bachelor's degree in communications. After graduating, Ms. Gergen came to Cleveland to complete a year-long volunteer program in the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. She fell in love with Cleveland, as well as continuing to work towards educating and supporting people around issues of domestic and dating violence. Prior to working as a teen advocate, Ms. Gergen worked at DVCAC's emergency shelter as both a youth advocate and a women's advocate. She has spent the majority of her professional career working with individuals in a crisis setting. Her role as teen advocate is to assist individuals at juvenile court seeking juvenile civil protection orders, according to accompany clients to police stations to make police reports or at hospitals to provide support, work with clients to develop safety plans and risk assessments, link clients to individual counseling services and other services as needed, and provide crisis intervention services. We are pleased to have Ms. Gergen with us today to discuss teen dating violence and relationship abuse. Please welcome her to the City Club this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. We talked a little bit about services for teens. I work with 13 to 24-year-olds. So I work with you, I work with your friends, I work with your classmates who have experienced or who currently are experiencing dating violence. That can include sexual assault, stalking, maybe you know a friend. That's me. So I'll talk a little bit about my services, but first I want to give you heard that story that Miss Yolanda just said, right? That's a story that I hear far too often because it's happening to 1 in 3 of you. So just take a minute, look at your table. What, there's 6, 7 of you? So at least 2 of you at each table in this room will have experienced dating violence in some form. That can include verbal abuse, name calling, that's abuse, put downs. Well, you're stupid. You did bad on that test because you're dumb. Well, why are you acting this way? You so-and-so. No one's gonna love you but me, right? That emotional abuse. Well, what's wrong with you? Why are you wearing that? I told you not to wear that outfit anymore, right? But that can start as, you know what? You'd look really cute if you wore that outfit more. And it's subtle. It's the, I don't think you should wear those jeans. And you think, you go on a date, I look good. But then if my significant other says, next time maybe wear this outfit, you're not going to think about that, right? Because you want to look good for them. But those subtleties are things to look for, okay? That sexual abuse, that doesn't mean rape. It can mean rape, but it can also mean, I don't want to kiss this person. I don't want to hold this person's hand. Anything that you don't want to do, that your partner does not respect you on, is abuse. You're in a relationship with someone to form a connection, and relationships can be great. I don't want to tell you that they can't be, because they're supposed to be about building yourself up, building each other, learning about yourself. But when someone starts pushing those boundaries and not respecting those boundaries, no matter where your boundaries are at, that's abuse. Physical abuse, hitting, pushing, pinching, it doesn't have to leave a bruise. It doesn't have to leave a mark. It just happens, right? But it shouldn't, and it does far too often. And lastly, we talk about resource abuse. A lot of times you'll hear like adults saying financial abuse, but maybe some of you have jobs or get an allowance or have money so that person can take your money. But what's the biggest thing you all have, right? Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, all these forms of communication that can happen, right? So when someone starts saying, let me get your password. I just want to see who you're talking to. No, that's your password. If your partner respects you and trusts you, they don't need to see who you're talking to, right? And if you're that person, be aware, right? Because if you're with someone and you don't trust them, why are you with them? You gotta trust. Trust is huge in a relationship. So when you start noticing that they say, who are you talking to on Facebook? Why are you messaging that person? I noticed you stayed after class to talk to so-and-so. Why are you doing that? Those are the signs. Look out for that. Because it starts, we talked about the cycle, right? The cycle of violence. Mm-hmm. So it starts, you go on your first date, you look good, they look good, everything is great, dinner was awesome, okay? You've been going out for a couple weeks, it turns into a month, this person makes you feel so good, and they love you like you have never been loved before, right? You are their world. But then you start noticing those signs I just talked about. And you start, that feeling of walking on eggshells, like, I don't know, something's gonna happen. What's going on? And then that explosion. And that doesn't have to be physical violence. I think oftentimes we get so wrapped up in hitting and pushing and that physical stuff that we forget that explosion can include name calling. Will you be? Why'd you do that? Look at what you made me do. You didn't do anything. Abuse is never, ever your fault, no matter what you think. Oftentimes abusers and people in unhealthy relationships like to seclude you. So you notice your friend, man, they used to come to after school and do, play basketball all the time. They don't do that anymore. I wonder why. I've noticed their grades have really started slipping too. She doesn't hang out with us after school like she used to. So those are things to look for with your friendships, right? Because a lot of times, we don't tell our parents everything, right? I'm grown. I can do what I want. But know that your family and your friends are there for you no matter what. And sometimes it's scary. So pick up that phone. You call me. I'll help you figure out how to talk to that person. I'll facilitate that conversation. Do you need something? Maybe you're no longer in this relationship, but this person will not leave you alone. What can you do? You can create a safety plan. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this, but a safety plan is something that we put in place. How do you get to school? How do you get from school? What if you're home alone? What if you go to the same school? What if this person sits next to you in your math class? What are you going to do? There are things and ways to make math class and school and extracurricular activities safe because you deserve that. No one deserves to feel unsafe when they're just enjoying life, right? So those things, and there are people here. We have a 24-hour helpline. You can pick up the phone at 3 o'clock in the morning and call and talk to someone. You don't even have to tell them your name. Maybe this is your friend. Maybe it's your cousin. Maybe it's that girl you see down the hall and notice that I don't like the way her boyfriend talks to her. Say something. Because oftentimes that person can feel isolated and alone, but providing them with that support and listening and letting them know this is not your fault. There are people here, there are things that you can do, that I can do, and that we can do together. If it gets to that point, she mentioned protection orders, right? It's just like you hear on the movies or in TV shows. I will be there with you that entire process. You want to meet at the police station to file a police report? I'm there. You want to go to court and file for a protection order? I'm there. You want your family to be there? Okay. You don't want your parents to be there? They don't need to know. We might talk about why is it that you don't want your parents there knowing, but you can get a protection order on your own, even if you're under the age of 18. That will last until this person turns 19 or for 5 years, and it means they can't bother you. They can't come by your classroom, they can't come by your house, they can't call you, they can't tell your mutual friend to come and call you. They can't send you a message on Kik saying, hey. Any of those things that they do are a violation, and that person can get in trouble for it. Because abuse is not your fault, and you should not be punished for something that someone else decided to do. And when I say decided to do, it's a choice, right? You guys don't go around hitting your brothers and your sisters and your classmates when you're mad. Because we've learned that we shouldn't. Because it's not okay, right? If I'm going to get mad at my brother and I'm going to walk up and punch him in the face. What's he going to do to me? He's going to be mad because that's not appropriate, right? When you're little, you learn not to hit. So when someone's doing that to you, and when it's not playing, I understand you're going to roughhouse with your siblings. It happens. My brother's 6'4", believe me, it happens. But when it's in the context of a loving relationship, it shouldn't. Okay? So I want you to listen to these signs and be aware and say something. And if you don't know what to say to this person, find a teacher, find a counselor. I see a lot of adults in this room that I'm sure would be happy to help you out. Say something. Reach out. There's an way on our website that you can send me an email. You don't have to tell me your name. I have a question. What do I do? Just reach out. Because abuse is never, ever okay. Physical, verbal, emotional, or otherwise. You deserve to have a healthy, happy, loving, trusting relationship. Okay? And thank you for talking about this issue. It's so important and it's so dear to my heart. So thank you. I'm so happy to see all of you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Price, a member of the City Club Youth Forum Council and a sophomore at Shaw High School. Today at the City Club of Cleveland Youth Forum, we are listening to Yolanda Armstrong and Megan Gergen discuss teen dating violence and relationship abuse. If we can all give them a round of applause one more time for their excellent work. Shortly, we will return to our speakers in just a few moments, but first we encourage you to formulate questions for our speakers now while we break for a few announcements. And since 1997, the City Club of Cleveland has hosted the Youth Forum series, and throughout the school year, students from around the greater Cleveland area invite speakers, students in the community to 4 programs for and about youth. I would like to thank the members of the council that are present today and that are not here due to their extent emergencies, and also whose names are in the program for all of their hard work and throughout the year planning these programs. So we can give them a round of applause as well. Today's City Club Youth Forum is made possible by generous grants from AT&T, Pipeline Development Company, and the Thomas H. White Foundation. We thank all of our funders for their support. If we can give them a round of applause as well. Please note that there are surveys and pencils on your tables, and please begin filling these out, and we will collect them at the door when you leave. Now we would like to return to our speakers for the traditional City Club questions and answers. To ask a question, and it must be a question only, please raise your hand, and as courtesy, please stand, state your name and school, and hold your applause until the end of the program. Our microphone holders will be Christina and Destiny. First question, please.
Okay, I'll ask the first question. So, you both mentioned that there are programs available. Could you further elaborate on those?
Yeah. So my program, I guess I can give you the list. We have a 24-hour helpline. If anyone were to ever need to call someone, talk to someone, we have like I said, 24-hour helpline. We have an emergency shelter for families. Specifically, my program, I talked about juvenile protection orders, safety planning, risk assessment. That means I can come out to your school. I can meet you at a coffee shop. I can meet you wherever is convenient for you to talk about these things. I myself don't provide counseling, but I can get you connected with counseling, or if there's something else you need, to connect you to GuideStone. But I will do the best within my ability to find that referral, whatever it is you need, and talk you through that process to help you.
I just wanted to comment and say that I've had the opportunity while working at OhioGuidestone to meet a lot of people as the Community Relations Director. And so I sit on what we call Children Who Witness Violence, as well as Trauma Collab. And this collaborative comes together once a month to talk about issues as it relates to trauma that you as young people are experiencing. And one of them is the teen dating violence. And so for many young people, when they come to OhioGuidestone, they probably come to us because of some other issues, and then we find out that they've been in a domestic violence situation. And of course, we address that. What was not mentioned in my bio was the fact that I am a licensed clinical therapist, as well as I've actually worked with people with chemical dependency issues. And one of the things I found that as I work with, especially young ladies, that if they came to me for behavioral issues that are going on in school, parents have referred them to us because their grades are dropping or because they're unruly. One of the things that I've discovered through the years is that somewhere in there they had been involved in a domestic violence situation with a partner, with a teen, with another teen. So that tends to come out, not initially because they may come because they're depressed or having anxiety issues. But somewhere in there, it begins to come out because we ask those type of questions to find out what else is going on, because we know something started you to be, something had to happen before you became depressed. And we're trying to figure out what precipitated that. And with that, that's when I discovered so many young ladies who found themselves in abusive relationships with the young men that they date. So sometimes you may go to an agency not specifically about that specific issue, but know that if you do go and you're going in because you're depressed, you're having anxiety issues, believe me, somewhere in the course of that counseling session is going to come out, and we'll find out what it really is that's bothering you and that's causing you to feel the way that you're feeling and wanting to give up. And then we began to work on the treatment plan and the safety plan and things of that nature as well.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, the Plain Dealer just had a long article about the young people in the juvenile detention center and how many of them are there because of domestic violence. What kind of connection do you have? Do you get referrals from the detention center? Are you able to go there and help the young people? Because there are so many young people who are incarcerated who really should not be because they have problems.
Right. I have a relationship with juvenile court, so most of my referrals for like protection orders come through them. Like they'll just give me a call and say, "Hey, Megan, we have this going on." I don't currently have a relationship with the detention center so much. I unfortunately, due to grants and fundings, cannot work with perpetrators or abusers. So a lot of times that's really specifically where we see a gap in services, is with people who are in the detention center for abusing. There just aren't a lot of services out there for them, unfortunately. And it's unfortunate because they are so young.
With OhioGuidestone, we do have programs that, and we're very much involved with juvenile justice, as well as with Cuyahoga County Department of Children and Family Services. And because we have that relationship with them, we have a program called Pro Kids and Families, where many times youth have, they either have a choice to either go to detention center or have to participate in our at-risk youth program. Once they participate in our program, for various reasons, a lot of things do come out, and we start addressing those issues so that when they do go back into their neighborhood or go back to their school, the same behavior that they have now, God willing, they have not. They basically have refrained from that behavior and learned that being angry, because I think I heard people snickering when we were talking about, well, you know, you don't fight with this person, and I know that's a big issue in a lot of the schools right now, where people don't know how to deal with situations except turn to anger and want to lash out versus trying to talk it out, problem solve. And so with our Pro Kids and Families program, we're able to do that. Our agency has over 30 program services, ranging, you know, from juvenile justice to children who have been removed from the home because of abuse and neglect issues. A lot of people have known us as Berea Children's Home and Family Services in the past because of our residential treatment facility. But I'm here today to tell you that we have over 30 program services. We have programs in Painesville, Tuscarora, Pennsylvania, Columbus. We have opened up another office in Portage County. So we're throughout not just Cleveland, Ohio, but in the surrounding areas of Cuyahoga County, and really, really interested in working with young people as well as those who are going through a lot of issues from a holistic approach.
My name, is it on? Oh. My name is Lachey. I'm a sophomore at Shaw High School, and I heard you saying that it was 1 in 3 people who this affects, and it's probably people in this room. So I wanted to know the hotline number, or if y'all had cards with the information on it or anything.
Great question. Yes. Our hotline number, I'll give it to you, and then I also have brochures, and I'll set them out on the table for you, is 216-391-4357. And again, that's 24 hours. I'll say it again, 216-391-4357. And there's someone there that answers it every day. And it's used to be me, so you're not talking to somebody random. It's people that work for our agency. Okay. Good question. Thank you, Lachey.
My name is Dejanay Nicholson. I'm from Magic Johnson Bridgescape. My question was, what if someone had a friend who was being abused and they didn't want anyone else to know? Should we still tell someone, or should we just let it go like they want it?
I would say, number one, do not judge that person. Be very supportive of that individual. If this is your friend, and you're letting her know how you love her unconditionally and you're there for her, try to encourage her to reach out to speak to someone about the situation. Because I really do believe you can paint a picture of a worse scenario that could happen in hopes that she will be able to say, you know what, I need to call someone. I need to, reach out to someone. Would you go with me? A lot of times as young people, we tend to like, oh, I don't have nothing to do with that. I don't want to be bothered with that. And not knowing that you could be that person that could be there to save that person's life just by being the friend and loving them unconditionally and supporting them, but also helping them to realize what you're doing and what you're going through, this is not healthy. And so we need to move forward, even if it means me going with you to talk to your parents, if it means me going to the center to talk with whomever about your situation. So that's something I definitely want you to remember, not to keep it to yourself, but to try to encourage that individual to do it. And then in many occasions, I do know people who have said, you know what, I don't care. You're my best friend and I'm not gonna let him kill you. So I'm going to tell. And that's finally when that young lady or maybe that young man finally gets help, because the person decided they didn't care what that person felt. They're gonna do it anyway because they didn't want to see them in a worse situation.
And oftentimes, it can be very circumstantial. So if it's something that you feel like it's kind of starting off that way, talk to your friend. If you're gonna talk to a teacher, or a counselor, sometimes think about, sometimes your teachers or counselors have to make a report. So if that's something that's going to affect your friendship, think about that. Maybe you go to an older sibling and say, hey, what's going on? Seek out guidance. Maybe you call the helpline. Maybe you go to Love is Respect, and that's a 24-hour chat line, and ask. Because sometimes telling your friend's business can affect your friendship, but it can also save your friend's life. So the most important thing when you have a friend in this situation is, like Miss Yolanda said, listen, support, and do not judge them. Let them know that if you can call me at 2 o'clock in the morning, but only say that if they can call you at 2 o'clock in the morning. If they call you at 2 and you're like, call me later, don't say that. But let them know that you love them and support them no matter what that decision is. So sometimes it might help to reach out, but it can affect friendships. But if it's gonna save that person's life, it might be worth it. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name's Alvina. Okay, so what if you know somebody that's doing the abusing and like you want to like talk to them, but you don't want them to come after you?
That's a good question, because your safety is important. So you have a friend who's doing this. It's pretty likely that at least a couple of you know somebody who's acting this way towards their significant other. Say something. So you're hanging out with your boy and you see him put down his girl. Man, can you believe she did that? Hey man, that's not cool. Right? It's simple. You see something happen, hey, cut it out. That's not cool. Because then that person knows you're watching, right? Or you see it happening in the hallway and you walk up and say, hey, is everything okay here? Because then they know you're watching. And if it comes to the point, maybe you need to tell a teacher. Maybe you need to tell a counselor. Because you don't want to not say anything and then have something happen. So it's kind of, I would say if you're concerned that they might do something to you, don't do it alone. Don't put yourself in a situation that they could come after you. Make sure you're maybe in a public place. If you want to have like a one-on-one conversation, go to a coffee shop, go someplace where there's people around. But let them know when you see that behavior happening, hey, that's not cool. Because a lot of times maybe there's a couple of you, right, in a group, and a couple of you see this and no one says anything, but you say something, say, hey man, cut it out. Then your other friend will be like, yeah, you really need to stop that. That's not cool. And so you see this kind of support building around the victim, but also putting pressure on the person who's abusing, right? That, oh, I was doing this because I'm tough and I'm cool. Well, that's not cool. People don't appreciate it. So I would say something, but don't put yourself at a safety risk when you do it. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Jeffrey, and my question is, what if you got a friend or family member whose partner is affecting their life, but they don't believe so?
Good questions, y'all.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. You're saying that you have a friend, a loved one, who has a partner who's affecting their life, and they're affecting their life in a negative way. I would suggest that you sit down and talk to that person and let them know how they're acting and how it's affecting that individual. Especially because I know for some of us, we don't want to speak up and speak out, and I know that's very difficult, but then I do know that many of you don't have a problem telling people off or reading a person in a heartbeat, and when you have that much energy and gusto to be able to tell somebody off, I think you should have enough gusto and energy to be able to tell somebody that you care about, look, this is not acceptable. And point out to them how this is affecting the person, because sometimes people don't see it. They don't see that what they're doing to another person is not cool. And so you need to point that out to them. I do know that a lot of people, especially young people, there are some people that you trust, that you respect, that you highly respect. And you tend to listen to that person or respect what they say. And I know for some of you, because I remember when I was a teenager, I was that friend that people respected, and therefore they would come to me with everything and tell me things, and then I'd give them my advice, not knowing that I would end up doing what I'm doing today. Honestly, I wanted to be a lawyer. But I found myself in a position where I felt that if people respect me enough, I have to be careful with what I say and make sure that what I'm telling them is the right thing and is the positive thing to do, and not something that's going to hurt them.
And I would say if your friend, you say, hey, I've noticed that this is going on. I'm concerned for you because of what I've witnessed. And your friend says, nah, we're in love. It's cool. Okay, we talked about it earlier, saying, I'm concerned for you, but I'm going to respect your decisions. So whenever something comes up, because it's that cycle again, right? So you guys are in the honeymoon phase and everything is good and great and you are in love, but then you go home later that night after a movie, something happens. Maybe that's the thing that's going to make them call you and say, hey, this person told me that they were there for me, no matter what. I'm going to give them a call. So make sure you don't do the pushing away, right? Because a lot of times they're isolating. Just let them know I'm here whenever. I see this is affecting you and I'm concerned, but when you make this decision, I'm here for you. Okay.
Hi, my name is Njari Barrett from John Hay Early College. I wanted to know, what would you do if you were in a relationship with a partner who's doing things such as substance abuse and you wanted to seek help but you're afraid that they might hurt you?
In that situation, I would definitely, and we kind of said this before, if you care about that person, you'll let them know how you feel. I've come to the conclusion after dealing with so many young people, a lot of times you can say stuff to them and it goes through one ear out the other. But I truly believe that if you feel that you're in a situation where this person is hurting him or herself and they're using drugs and it might affect you in some kind of way, I would go the other direction, because I'll be honest with you, when we're talking about people who have different experiences in life and you don't know that walk of life that individual has, some people are going to do what they want to do. And then when they do get help, it's because they finally made that decision to get help themselves. We can't make other people get help. They have to want to be helped in order to do that. And so if you have a friend that's using substances and you don't like it, let them know you don't like it and that you feel like that it's affecting your friendship. And if the friendship means enough to you to want to have that friendship with that individual, then continuously try to work through the issue with that person. And then for many young people who do not like drinking, who do not like drugs, they typically would say, you know what, later for that. I don't have time for that. I don't want to be involved in it. And we're just not friends anymore. When I see you, I'll say hello, but I'm going to keep it moving.
Because a lot of times what happens, like you said, you're afraid to, or someone would be afraid to tell this person. So you heard a little bit earlier about, well, if I leave them, because this is an unhealthy thing for me, right? Because you want to be in a relationship, you want to be the best you. So if you're with somebody who's doing these things and it's bringing you down, you don't want to be in that situation, but they're going to hurt you or they're going to hurt themselves if you leave, let somebody know. Because if you're just staying with someone or you're because of what they're going to do to themselves or to you, that's not fair to you. So you have a responsibility to inform their parents, to call the police if you need to. But that's not something that should affect you or why you're staying with them. So if you're concerned, then I would say tell the authorities, but get yourself out of that if you're not being healthy for you.
I'm Diamond. I go to Magic Johnson Brisket. And you mentioned that to look out for signs, like when they ask for your Facebook password. What if they're controlling your Facebook? Is that a sign too?
Yes. Because, right, so if you're controlling my Facebook, you're putting up my posts. I don't like that person. Why would you put a post about them? Or maybe they're messaging your friends and saying, hey, listen, you need to stay away from me. I don't want to talk to you no more because you're this and this and this. They're going to message the guys in your class and say, hey, you look at me again, they're going to have a problem. So that's that controlling again, right, of who you're talking to, who you're not talking to, who you can be friends with. And it goes back to that. So your Facebook, your Twitter, your whatever, email is yours. That is not your significant other's. That belongs to you. So if they're controlling that, yeah, that's a warning sign.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I don't think either one of us mentioned, but I do want to mention this, and that's the sexting. When you're in a relationship with someone and they convince you to take pictures of yourself, and you do that because you care about that person so much and you think the world of that individual, so you're willing to do that. Well, we found that we do have a lot of people who are perpetrators of trying to get their mate to take pictures and then try to hold it against them later when they're no longer in that relationship. And I just want to say this because a lot of young people don't realize it's against the law. The whole sexting, if a young man says, hey, I want you to take a picture of you in a nude or things of that nature, and you decide to do it because that's your boyfriend, there are so many repercussions after that, especially if he gets mad at you and decides to circulate it to all the other boys at the school. And then everybody has a copy of what happened. Not only are you humiliated, but for a lot of young ladies we've worked with, they become very depressed and want to give up because now they're being picked on by other people at school because of what happened to them. And so I try to encourage our young people to be careful with that. Do not do that. And it's now against the law. So even if your friends have a copy, once the principal and other people find out about it, they have to notify the authorities. And then you may find yourself with a case because of it.
Yes. Anyone holding, even if it's just a picture of yourself, if you are under the age of 18 and have a picture, it is child pornography. If you send it to one person, it's distribution. So if someone sends you a picture, you need to tell your parents or tell someone immediately. Make a police report. Because, right, it's not a big deal. It's just going to my boyfriend. It is a big deal. And so you send it to one person, and then they send it to 3, and then they send it to 7 people. The police get that 7th person at the end, they're going to trace it back to you, and you could get in trouble.
And the other thing I wanted to add, even if he doesn't do that and just keeps it, he'll hold it against you and say, well, if you don't stay with me, because now you're trying to get out of that relationship, if you don't stay with me, I'm going to make sure everybody at school know what happened between us. I'm going to let everybody see your pictures and this, that, and the other. And so I do know for a lot of young people, they find themselves feeling like I have to stay in this relationship because I did something that I should not have done. And now he is the keeper of what I did. And now he's going to tell everybody. And I don't want to be humiliated. And therefore, I have to stay in this relationship with him because if I don't, everyone's going to know what I did. And that's another way of a form of control that he has over you. And we don't want you to do that. We don't want you to be in a situation like that.
Hi, my name is Watika. I'm a sophomore at Shaw. And I wanted to know, what advice would you give to someone if they thought they were the perpetrator in the relationship or the abuser?
I would say that's really great that they're noticing, because a lot of times you can notice but not say, oh, I want to do something about this. So seek out a counselor to talk to, because you want to talk about, why am I doing this? And so when you find yourself saying, give me your password, who are you talking to? Check yourself. Right, because jealousy is normal in a relationship. Like you start dating someone and you see him talking to that cute girl down the street. Why are they talking to her? I'm cute, right? It happens, and it's normal. But it's how you display that jealousy that makes it healthy versus unhealthy. We've all been jealous. Well, I'll be jealous again. It's a natural feeling. But when your jealousy turns from who's that to, well, why are you talking to that person? What are you doing? That's when you need to take a step back. And if it's you doing those things, or if it's you saying you can't talk to this person, take a step back. One, should I be in this relationship anymore? If I'm not okay with where I'm at and I don't, feel sure in this relationship, should I be in this relationship? Because not only should you trust your partner, but they should trust you, right? It should work both ways. So I would say take time and seek somebody out to talk to. Why is this going on? What happened that I'm displaying these things?
Well, I just wanted to add that if a young person who's the perpetrator, he's the person or she's the person that's hurting that loved one or that girlfriend or that boyfriend, and he or she recognizes that she has a problem, this is where I feel right now that you all need to come into becoming more of advocates, because we need more programs that will help the perpetrator. The fact that that person even knows that they need help, hopefully they will go and get counseling. But if they don't, because maybe there aren't programs out there to help the perpetrator for whatever reason. I know we've been able to discover maybe some young men or some young ladies that may have issues because they may have anger issues. Again, we may get that whole teen violence situation or discussion after discovering something else that was going on with them and then addressing those issues. But the fact that that person can be young and recognize, I have a problem and I need help, I think that's a step in the right direction. Because when I think about the adults that I've worked with, usually they'll say, when I was growing up, I saw this happen with my parents, and therefore I thought it was okay. I thought this was love, or I thought this is how I'm supposed to treat the girl, or this is how I'm supposed to treat the guy, and think that it's okay when it's not. And to be able to address it at the age that you all are now, would mean so much so that it will stop that cycle for the future.
Hi, my name is Tariana, and I go to Magic Johnson Brisket. I wanted to know if you get your friend out of the relationship and they start to become the abuser, what do you tell them? How do you tell them that now they're the abuser in the relationship?
So they've been maybe in an unhealthy relationship as the victim before? I would say, you know, similar to what we talked about before, talk to them. Hey, I've noticed you're doing these things, right? Because you're young. Maybe this is your first relationship. Maybe you've seen this at home, right? So this is your way of, well, I was treated like this, so I'm going to treat somebody else like this. So you could say, hey, remember how that made you feel? What's going on that you're doing this to somebody else? What's happening? Because again, reaching out and talking, like we just talked about, what can we do? Because it's not okay. And there comes a point where even if you've seen this growing up, the majority of people who have seen this in their homes still don't become abusers. That's not it's an excuse. It's nothing other than excuse because you still are old enough, mature enough to make those decisions that I'm not going to do this. So if you have a friend that you see kind of as flipped, talk to them. Say, hey, what's going on? You know, I noticed that you got out of this unhealthy relationship and I'm so proud of you for doing that. But now I notice that you're displaying some unhealthy behaviors. Let's find you somebody to talk to. What can we do? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Leandria. I go to Euclid. I was just wondering if you've talked to a family member or a friend about them being affected, do you think it's taking it a step further to talk to the person you think is affecting them? Or do you think it's like being nosy?
I think the more we talk about it, the better. So maybe you're unsure how to talk to a friend, so you talk to your parents about it. Maybe you talk to your friend who's being abused parents about it. You can be as vague or as detailed when you have these conversations as possible. But the more that we talk about it and the more we let people know that it's not okay, the better. So I say talk to as many people as you can, as you want to. Because you might still be processing, right? It hasn't happened to you, but what about when you go to college and you see friends or it starts happening to you, right? You've had these conversations so you can know how to handle it and how to deal with it.
And I think we've seen enough in the last year of where people have hurt someone in their relationship, the whole teen dating violence. I think we've seen enough on the news to know in different cities that this is affecting a lot of young people. And I think many times when I watch the news and I hear about a young man or a young woman hurting somebody that they were dating, it makes me wonder how many people knew that this was happening in the relationship. It also makes you wonder, well, did they go to anybody? Why did they keep it to themselves? They should have told somebody because maybe that would have saved that person's life. And I think because of all that we've seen now and the tragedies that have occurred and have affected so many families, I'll be honest, it is so important to recognize those signs when you see your friends going through something. Do your best to try to help that individual. And if that doesn't work, give them the card, give them information that could help them. And then you have to speak up and speak out before something tragic happens.
Good afternoon. My name is Nick Rutherford. I am a junior at Walsh Jesuit High School and a member of the City Club Youth Forum Council. Today at this City Club of Cleveland Youth Forum, we have been listening to Yolanda Armstrong and Megan Gergen discuss teen dating violence and relationship abuse. Before you go, we would like to ask you to fill out the surveys on your tables and return them at the door. Along with that, we also have applications if you would like to join the City Club Youth Forum Council that Mr. Hale will have. Thank you to our speakers and to you, ladies and gentlemen. This forum is now adjourned.